everyone? Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Ruthie Polinsky with you here. Alex Shapiro, 𝗏𝗏. We are ready and rocking, getting ready for rookie minicamp this weekend, which will be our first opportunity to see some of these guys on the field, see them in person, talk to them. Also, our first opportunity to watch, which I'm just sort of realizing now as I'm introducing this podcast, fellas, we'll get to see some of these coaches coach for the first time as well, which I think is interesting. Obviously access to be determined, and it's obviously very limited, and the work that they can do during rookie minicamp is limited, but there's a lot to be excited about when we head out to Halas Hall. The three of us will all be out there on Friday. Rookie minicamp will take place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. Happy Mother's Day to you all. And it's going to be a blast. So I think just to start this thing off, guys, let's start with the only person on this podcast who has ever participated in a rookie minicamp, and that would be Mr. 𝗏𝗏.
Alex,
tell us about your rookie minicamp experience. You were a draft pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you prepared? What was your entire experience like?
Yeah, I was a draft pick for the Eagles, 4th round, but I was the only I was the highest offensive draft pick that year. They took Brandon Graham, who crazily just retired this year, which is insane, neither here nor there. But I was nervous a little bit, but it was so fast because back then it was the week after the draft, right? So you get drafted. So I get drafted on Sunday. It was still 3 days. Go to day 3, 4th round pick, middle of the 4th. Get the call. Then the whole next week, I'm getting called from my tight end coach, and he's installing the playbook, overnight the playbook to you, and then he's calling me on the phone, and we're going through the plays that we are going to be installing and running in the rookie minicamp. So there was no time. I had a little hangover draft day. I mean, come on, you're popping some champagne with your family. Next day, you're getting a buzz from your coach. Your playbook's arriving. You're going over the playbook so you have an idea of what you're doing. And back then, they would bring in a bunch of tryout guys. I'm not sure if they still do that. So you could still play 11 on 11. So you could still field a full team, and there was a little bit more contact. Wasn't obviously full go, but a ton of tryout kids, and obviously there's undrafted free agents, and then there's the draft picks, and you're all there out there, and you're running around drills. But we did team. There's drills. There's a bunch of stuff, and we had a quarterback, Mike Kafka, who's actually the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants, was on the Bears head coaching list, was a quarterback. So we had a rookie quarterback in there, and we both got drafted in the 4th round, me and Kafka. And I remember forming a connection with him early and playing against some of these guys, but just the verbiage of the plays was something that I remember sticking out about how long they were and how it was a little bit more confusing, a lot more motion, shift, just trying to pick up that NFL offense when you were on the field, and having that first crack at that was a little bit tough. And we were playing against some tryout guys and some guys that were going to be bagging groceries the next week. So, it was a little bit easier than the following OTAs and whatnot. But overall, I just remember the first thing I remember is just the playbook, how different it was and wordy it was, and trying to remember where to get lined up. And they're moving you around. They're putting you in different positions. And I think they throw a lot at you just to see who can handle it and just to see who the guy was that was actually studying before he came in. But it was an exciting time. You get to see how these guys move around. You get to see how these guys play a little bit. Obviously not as much contact as there used to be in the old days, but still a lot for us to see out there at Halas Hall Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Clay, did you have any moments that rookie minicamp weekend of being like, welcome to the NFL? Or did that not come until you were like around the vets and watching like guys operate? Were there any moments that weekend where you were like, oh boy, here we go?
The following week that happened, Ruthie, and rookie minicamp, I kind of was a little bit of a big fish. Like I said, we're playing against a lot of the tryout guys, undrafted free agents. Not that those guys couldn't play for all intents and purposes, but there's a reason they didn't get drafted and they were there for tryouts. Athletically, it was like college almost. So still just better than some of those guys, and they were learning. The following week, when Michael Vick came in, Kevin Cobb, these quarterbacks, I remember Michael Vick just throwing me a laser over the middle, and I got my hands up so late that I didn't even touch the ball, and it skimmed the top of my helmet. And I'm like, how the heck did I let that happen? Everybody watching, the ball goes right through. I didn't even touch it. It just skimmed off the top of my helmet. And then I was like, wow, that guy literally just flicked his wrist, and the ball took off. Usually you're seeing a guy with a windup, and this is a lefty that just flicks his wrist, and the thing just took off over my head. And that was one of the welcome to the NFL moments. And then Ernie Sims, I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was a linebacker. He was only with the Eagles for 1 year, but this dude could hit. And this dude didn't know the meaning of, no pads. And I remember going over the middle for a play and getting tackled and getting the wind knocked out of me and trying to get up and act like nothing happened because I'm a rookie and I'm tough. Obviously, I'm a tough guy. And just thinking like, wow, he really just put his helmet, in my ribs. And this is OTAs, and we have spider shells on, and we don't have full pads on.
No thudding? No thudding at Eagles OTAs?
Yeah. Yes. Welcome to the NFL. So those two moments stand out to me. Ernie Sims, Michael Vick, fun times.
If you could give rookies right now, Clay, a word of advice as to what should they do this weekend? How should they behave? What are some of the things that you think you did that helped you be successful that weekend?
To me is start finding your routine. The thing about the NFL is there ain't no more class. You don't got to go to algebra. You don't got to go to history, Ruthie. Guess what? No more chemistry. No more writing. Okay, this is all football. Your whole day, your whole life is revolving around football. And with the NIL, maybe that's changed a little bit. Maybe the guys aren't going. I had to go to class, Missouri State University. But find your routine as quickly as you can. Get one in place. Even if it's not a good routine, get a routine in place, and then you fix it. You adjust here and there. You make little changes until you got this perfect routine of, all right, what time do I want to study? What time do I want to start getting warm? Am I going to hit the cold tub after practice? Am I just going to hit the sauna and stretch in the sauna, stretch in the steam room? You get your shake coming off the field. The nutrition staff's handing you your shake. Do you want to go shake now? Do you want to go eat right afterwards? Find your routine. Study. Obviously, the coaches, if you come in and you know your stuff, there is no better way to make a what's the word I'm looking for? To make a impression. There's no better way to make an impression on a coaching staff than if you go out there, you know the formations, you know the shifts, you know the motions, you know the plays right off the bat. They expect you to mess up and need some help. But there are guys who put in that extra work. And I was always one of those guys who wanted to know my stuff. If you go out there and you take the extra time to know your stuff, when you're going through walkthrough, pay attention. Try to get all your questions out in walkthrough, and you line up and get everything done even before the snap even happens. That is a way to make an impression if you're a tryout guy, if you're a undrafted rookie free agent, and even if you're a late round guy, you'll start to build confidence in the coaching staff. And you're never going to get on the field until the coaches are confident in you. And there is no second chance to make a first impression, even in the NFL. You start off being this guy that, wow, this guy's really intelligent. He's bright. He can pick off an offense. It's hard for that to leave you, even if maybe you have some struggles in a couple weeks.
Seems like that's the great way, or maybe the best way to earn trust in a coach, right? You mentioned not getting your hands up and the ball skimming over your head. I mean, that's one thing. That's one play. It's one snap, right? And it's maybe silly, but if a coach can trust, okay, Clay didn't get his hands up quickly because that's his first time catching a pass from Mike Vick. That's one thing. But I know Clay is going to be in the spot that I need him to be, whether or not he gets his hands up. Or I can trust that Clay understands the protection and will pick up the right guy. Or I can trust Clay to do the shift properly and get set before the snap. It seems like that is the way to build trust with a coach. And then obviously you need your coaches to trust you to give you snaps when it comes Sunday and to give you a jersey. Is that kind of like on point there, that's how you earn your coach's trust is with the getting your details right before the actual playmaking?
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously, you got to have a certain level of competency, when the play is snapped and in between the whistles, but you can do so much for yourself and just knowing your stuff, knowing the shifts, knowing the motions, knowing how to get lined up in meetings when they ask you a question, you're right on it. You know the answers. And that is something that I feel like a lot of these guys, they just focus on, okay, they got to win the one-on-ones. They got to do this. A lot of this comes down to knowing your stuff because they want to see who can learn this NFL playbook. Because there's as many guys that are physically gifted that can't learn the playbook as guys that, aren't so physically gifted that can learn the playbook, that make it and don't make it for those reasons. It's not just only guys that aren't as physically gifted, because the smart guys, the coaches trust you, and you can have a long career just based off of that trust and doing those things in between the whistles and even before and after the play. And obviously, we're talking about your routine. The other thing I would say is get in the special team coach's ear. Richard Hightower needs to be your best friend. You're a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, 6th-round. You're an undrafted free agent. You are tugging on his shirt. You want to be annoying. He's got to know your name. He's got to know who you are, and he's got to know you want to play special teams. I wasn't too cool to play special teams. I realized Brent Selleck, the guy I came in, he just got a $40 million contract. I realized where I was. I was competing against Cornelius Ingram, Martin Rucker, Donald Lee. Last year, the Eagles kept 2 tight ends. We have 7 on the roster. Hey, special teams coach, what's your name again, Matt? You got to become friends with the special team coach and let these guys know that you care. And it's not like it was the last few years where there was less of an emphasis on the special teams because the kickoff and the kickoff return, the kickoff and kick return is going to be back. Back in the day, there was such an emphasis because we were returning in kicking off and returning. You had to kick off and return. The majority of the plays, you were doing that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of touchbacks. But this year, with the change in the rules, you plan to see that again. And then, obviously, the punt return, become a core 4 guy. And when it comes time to final cuts, you can have that special team coach. You're in a battle with another tight end or another linebacker. You have that special team coach stand up on the table for you and say, no, we need to keep this guy. We need to keep this guy. I don't know if we're certain, but I know that's what kept me around a few times, is the fact that I was a core 4 guy. I'm asking questions of the special teams coach, asking him what I can do better, wanting to play different positions. Hey, coach, can you try me out over here? I think I can do that too. And just be in his hip pocket. Because a lot of these guys aren't going to be primetime players, but you can find a role on special teams.
That's such good stuff, Clay. I just wish everyone could hear that. And obviously, Hightower, HT as the guys call him, he's an easy guy to attach yourself to. That's someone you want to play for. He's a fan favorite for the players. Everyone loves Richard Hightower. So hopefully everyone's listening to this podcast because that's really good stuff. Speaking of the Bears specifically, let's kind of transition into this weekend for the Chicago Bears and talk about who you're most looking forward to seeing. I think obviously it's a little disappointing that Colston Loveland is still nursing this shoulder injury, rehabbing, on track, is supposed to be ready to go by training camp in July. But other than Colston Loveland, who is your 1st-round pick, who are you looking forward to seeing, Alex? And what are you most what do you have your eye out for? What will you be watching?
Well, Clay, I don't want to take everybody. So you want to go back and forth, Clay? I'll list a few guys.
Yeah, let's go back and forth.
All right, sounds good. I am going to cheat, and I'm going to do a little shout out for Colston Loveland because he is not cleared for contact, but he said that he's catching passes. So I'm curious, how much is he going to be doing? Is he going to be out there doing the calisthenics? Is he going to be out there running routes on air and making grabs? To what extent is he doing individual drills? So I'm going to be curious because he says, listen, I'm on track with my rehab. I'm not cleared for contact yet. How much is he actually doing? So I am interested to see a little bit of Colston Loveland.
Don't take them all.
I'm not going to take them all. I'm going to start with Luther Burden. I was tempted to go elsewhere, but I'm going to start with Luther Burden for a number of reasons. One, of course you are. Where is he lining up? The Bears have told us they believe he can play outside. At Missouri, he played outside his freshman season and then became a primary slot receiver. Do they have him working out of the slot? Do they have him working outside? How frequently? What does it actually look like with the ball in his hands? Because that's what we've heard is his superpower. And you turn on the tape, this dude makes a ton of plays with the ball in his hands. So how are the Bears getting the ball in his hands? So I'm interested to see a lot of Luther Burden. And then, if he lines up against 𝗍 Frazier, for instance, can he cook him off the line? What does that all look like? When he gets lined up with a linebacker, does he totally dust him? So I will say Luther Burden for the where and the how he gets the football.
Nice. Love it. Love that Luther Burden shout out. And I'm looking for the same stuff with Luther Burden. Alex, I want to see how he gets in and out of breaks. I want to see what his routes look like, how his eye discipline is. And I want to see how Antoine Randall is coaching this guy up. Because, that's something that's intriguing to me. I think that's a match made in heaven. My pick's going to be Big 𝗬𝗏. Big 𝗬𝗏. I know you're not going to have any contact. You can't see him go up against the defensive end here. We're not going to see Shemar Turner versus 𝗬𝗏 𝗵𝗃 in one-on-ones. But what I'm looking for, I want to see 𝗬𝗏 do a pass set in a right-handed stance. I want to see him do a pass set in a left-handed stance. As a tight end, we had to go both sides of the football. I'm very familiar. Your first time doing left-handed stance, it's different. I'll be honest. It's different doing a set, just like catching a football, pass setting. Each player has a side that you prefer. If I was going to my right, I love catching a football with my hand on top, my right hand on top. Had to work more to get my left hand on top, just like a pass set. I liked being on the left side personally. I just like push sliding off my right leg. It was a little bit harder for me off my left leg, so I always had to get extra snaps in for pass pro on my left-hand stance. So I want to see if there's a difference. I want to see how he comes off the ball. Is this a guy that can bend? He's 6'8", 320 pounds. This guy makes the mountain from Game of Thrones look small. I want to see how this guy moves, how he bends. Watching his tape, the guy looked like an athlete, but in person, maybe it looks a little different. What kind of athlete is he? How does his sets look? Can he bend in his footwork when he's going through his zone scheme? It's going to be a wide zone scheme. Obviously, there's going to be some gap stuff, but we know Ben Johnson loves his wide zone. So I'm looking forward to seeing how 𝗬𝗏 moves. Can he do both the left-handed and the right-handed stuff? Because we know the right tackle job is Darnell Rice. There have been some rumblings that maybe Darnell moves to left, but I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is to keep Darnell where he's at and then let Braxton and 𝗬𝗏 compete for the job. And Kieran, don't want to discount Kieran, compete for the job at left tackle.
I am really looking forward to seeing 𝗬𝗏 𝗵𝗃 stand next to Kyle Monangai and see what that looks like. Because both of these people, human beings, are playing in the NFL, right? And there's arguably an entire foot of height difference between the two of them. So I think that's going to be really fun. I'm really excited, honestly, to watch Kyle Monangai, speak with him, get to know him. Everything we've heard about him is that he's just, the ultimate professional and just a great person to be around, and obviously a hard worker, and is going to do everything he can to prove everything wrong, which sort of leads me into my next question for you both is, who would you say has the most to prove this weekend among those 8 draft picks?
Ooh, that is interesting. It's a great question. I'm going to take the line guys out of it because it's really hard to evaluate the guys off camera. I think, what did you call it, Clay? They're playing patty cake out there.
Playing patty cake.
Yeah, without the pads on, it seems kind of unfair to evaluate a lot of the line play. But you can, as you said, evaluate how they move, how they got out in space, and obviously like what they're taking from the classroom to the field. I think it's going to be similar with Kyle Monangai, who is a physical back. I think he's going to look his best when they finally put the pads on. In terms of most to prove, because I think this is a player who has the most to gain, it might be 𝗍 Frazier. It might be a guy who, let's see, obviously it's not super contact, but what does that press look like when you get up against a wide receiver? How well can you jam him at the line? How sticky can you get? Can you make any takeaways? Can you reel in some interceptions, some PBUs? Because, we don't know what Dennis Allen feels about Tyree Stevenson, about Terrell Smith. Those guys were super interchangeable last year at times. They traded snaps a lot last year. Zay Frazier, this is a dude that Al Harris told us, and we've talked about it a bunch. Al Harris circled him on his draft board, says, yeah, if you can get him in the 4th or 5th round, kind of interesting. So if Zay Frazier goes out there, just is a total sponge, takes it to the grass, shows them exactly what we were talking about. I know what's happening. You can trust me, coach, and then makes some plays. That's a guy who I think could have a lot to prove here in this sense. Like Colston Loveland, he doesn't have much to prove. He's the 10 pick. He's fine. Luther Burden, we have a pretty good idea that guy's going to be pretty good. Zay Frazier, day 3 pick. Can you make a big time impact?
I like it. And the thing about Zay Frazier, Alex, and Luther Burden, if you're a wide receiver and a cornerback, you're the only position. Guess what? You're playing football. It don't matter. You don't have any contact. You're out there playing real football. You can see what these guys can do, and obviously they can get better. They can improve. I'm not saying the end all be all here, but they are playing football. This is the only position. If you're a linebacker, you can't tackle. If you're a lineman, you can't go out there and run a tray or deuce block on somebody, see how you get movement, how your steps are. Okay? If you're a running back, you can't break tackles. If you're a receiver, you are allowed to run routes and catch the football. What do you do during an NFL football game? You run routes and you catch the football. So the same thing goes with the defensive back. You've got to guard a wide receiver. You're running zone. You're running man. Can you stay with them? You are playing football. So for these guys, you're going to get to see right away who's ahead of who. How are they playing? It's not like inside the trenches, maybe one guy's tempo is different than the other, and that's why it looks like it does. No, these guys are going to be playing football. So I like that pick. For me, I'm going to go with the guy that me and Ruthie on the Big Pro Football Show found out yesterday that was called one of the biggest reaches in the entire draft. And that was Ruben Hippolyte the third, excuse me. To me, this guy is intriguing because he ran a 4.39, a 4.42. You've got a couple different times on him. Either one would have been the fastest time at the combine. He did that at a pro day because he wasn't even a combine invitee. A lot of people said this guy was a 7th round pick, was an undrafted guy. You could have got him later, and I think maybe you could have. Yeah, you probably could have got him a little bit later on. Maybe you reach for him a little bit, but I want to see how is he in coverage. Can you guard a linebacker, or can you guard a running back, out of the backfield? If you want to get on the field, you're probably not going to be playing middle linebacker like you were in college. You got 2 guys who are going to be playing middle linebacker ahead of you. That's TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. You are going to be a 3rd linebacker playing Sam or playing Will. So you've got to be good in coverage. His junior year, he averaged a 130 pass rating when targeted, but his senior year, he got down to a 92 pass rating when targeted. He showed a lot of improvement there. So can you improve right away that you can guard some of these tight ends? Obviously, Colson's not there. They're going to have some undrafted free agents, some tryout guys there. Can you guard these tight ends? Can you guard these running backs? If you get split out in the slot and you have to go against a slot receiver, are you good enough to stick close enough to the slot receiver in zone, even man-to-man in certain situations? So for me, I want to see how Ruben Hippolyte moves. You are a 4th round pick. I mean, that's pretty high for a guy that some people had not even getting drafted. So go on and show people, why were you a 4th round pick? We know you're fast, but can you cover?
I got one for you guys. What do you think about Luther Burden having the most to prove? You wanted to be a 1st round pick? Show us. You want people to stop talking about, your work ethic or maybe the way that you play on the field when, some of the stuff Steve Smith said, who knows if that, where that came from, et cetera. But I think if you want to show everyone and you're mad that you didn't go in the 1st round, show us why. And I think that's what I'm excited for. I think it was the receivers coach that you talked to, something to prove. STP is what they used. That was from Mizzou, right? That was,
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
𝗵𝗶𝗹, his wide
Yeah,
receivers
Peeler,
coach.
Coach Peeler. Yeah. So I think that's cool. Like STP, like show us what do you have to prove, Luther Burden III. I think that's going to be really exciting. And also Shemar Turner, Clay, we talked about it yesterday on the show as well. You say that the stress fracture in your foot isn't a big deal. Let's see how you look. What's your health? And you say you play with violence. Like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see it day one. I want to see you in just individual drills. Like, what are you doing in those drills? And it's going to be hard to evaluate a lot of the things I think we're looking for from these guys right away. No pads, it's a lot of fundamentals and basics and individual work, etc. And Austin Reed is throwing you the football, right? So that's also part of this. But I think there's going to be things that we can sort of pick up on, personality, effort, and maybe we'll be able to pick up on, who do you think picked up a playbook quickly? Who do you think has been in the lab studying the most? So I think there are going to be some fun things to keep our eyes on.
Partying in Miami. I'm just teasing.
Right. Jaden Daniels and his mom.
Yeah,
exactly. All right. Great stuff, guys. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about on our Monday episode when we recap. Oh, yeah. What's up, Al?
I got one more thing that I'm looking for before
Okay. I was going to wrap this thing up.
Unrelated to players. Super related to vibes. Who's going to be the loud guy? Who's going to be the energy guy? In the past, you always heard DeMarcus Walker all the time. Or former Bears running back coach Chad Morton. That dude was high energy, like running up and down the field with the players. Loud, 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 loud. Those guys are gone. So is it Shemar Turner? We've heard so much about how he brings it, but is he going to be like the vocal chirp dude? Tyreek Stevenson is a vocal chirp dude. Who's going to be the dude I hear? Who's going to be the dude who elevates the energy at practice, player or coach? You mentioned it earlier too. We don't know a lot about these coaches. We have not seen these coaches on the field. How's Eric Bieniemy interacting with his running backs? So I'm really interested to see like who's the guy who brings the juice, who brings the fire, because I think that's a little bit of a question mark with this new crop of players and coaches.
I think we're going to say the same thing, Clay, but Antoine Randall L to me is like screams just like juice, right? Like that's someone, and Eric Bieniemy also, who you mentioned, Alex. Again, guys, like let's remind everyone that first of all, these guys are rookies. I don't know if we're really going to hear them being super vocal this weekend. And also it's just like their first week. And I think also even, but I hear you, Alex, like you said to Marcus Walker, when they do get with the vets, like who's bringing the noise, who's bringing the energy. And, I'm excited. Grady Jarrett maybe, or is that his personality? I wonder, you think about some of these guys on the offensive line, like we met Drew Dahlman and Jonah Jackson, and we already know Darnell Wright, and I've covered Joe Thuney, Clay, your former roommate. Like those are kind of quiet guys. Like all three of the new guys, and then we'll see what happens at left tackle. Like Braxton's quiet. Don't know much about 𝗁cie. He's a little bit of a baby face, even though he's 6'8". Like you just wonder, like who's gonna step up and really sort of lead, not just by example, but with their voice too. And you hope that Caleb Williams maybe becomes more of a vocal leader this year as well.
Yeah, I almost forgot my favorite part about these rookie camps and getting the first look at the rookies. Every year, there's undrafted free agents that make the roster. Every single year. So, I mean, this is exciting because there's going to be a couple of these guys, 2 or 3 of these guys that probably make this Bears roster, opening day roster. And we're going to get the first chance to see these guys. We're going to be watching. We're going to be watching all these draft picks, and we're going to go, wow, who's that guy? I don't remember him. And we're going to look at our programs, and we're going to say, okay, let's keep an eye on this guy. And then he's probably going to be a guy that we keep an eye on throughout training camp. And guess what? There's going to be a number of these guys that make the football team. I love watching these undrafted guys. A lot of them come in with a chip on their shoulder and say, hey, I didn't get drafted, but I'm not going to let this slow me down from chasing my dream. They come in, they make the most of it, and they end up making a roster. So that's one other thing I'm excited to see. I think the Bears did get some very intriguing and drafted players. They got a lot more to prove than a lot of the drafted guys because it's going to be a little bit harder for them to make a roster. But I think that's something that we're going to be looking for as well.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to fall in love with these early camp dudes. I
It's
always
always-
like fall in love with a guy. They never make the team. Sometimes make the practice squad.
Yeah.
Michael Vick, the Hound, shout out, one of my summer guys. I think Aaron Cruikshank was a summer guy. Oh, I can't wait to find a new guy where I'm like, I like that guy as a football player, even though he's probably not going to make the 90-man roster. It's so fun.
We get our hearts broken every year. It's just the beauty of it all, right?
Mhm.
All right, guys, great stuff. We will have so much to unpack on Monday, and that's going to be a blast. So cheers to you for listening to the St. Xavier Charter, the Charter podcast brought to you by St. Xavier University. We're changing the name of the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Hello, Ruthie. Happy Hump Day. Great stuff, Clay Harbor, Alex Shapiro. I will see you both out at Halas Hall on Friday, and we'll talk about it all on Monday. In the meantime, make sure you tune into the Big Pro Football Show every night on the Chicago Sports Network. This week with some of the day games for the Sox, or for the early starts. We've been going on at 5 o'clock instead of 5:30. Just make sure you check your app and all those things. So we will see you on all the platforms. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.